where we talk all things romantic comedy, but mostly the bad ones. My name is Zach.
I'm Haley.
And I'm Edward.
Whoa.
Are there either of those how he sounds?
Those were the two eels from The Little Mermaid.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Which is kind of sums him up. Guys, Edward's not here this week. We were maybe going to have a guest to sort of fill the void, but it didn't happen. And, you know, sometimes people have other things they have to do. Edward is currently in the woods in the Catskills.
Alone.
We dropped him off there hours ago, confused and afraid.
We said, we want to do it alone this week.
And he was like, I could just stay home. And we said, no. There has to be a circumstance.
No. We will drive 2 hours out of the way by car.
Which we don't have.
No.
We had to acquire one.
We had to rent a car.
And we
tied him up, put him in the trunk.
Yeah, it was real bad. So he should make his way back to the city in a couple of days.
Hopefully.
But for now, it's just the two of us. It's just me and Haley. And today we're watching 2011's What's Your Number?
What is your number?
Now, a little context to this film. Haley and I just finished watching all the Marvel movies up until Infinity War. And we went through them in about a month, and it was a triumph, I'd say.
It was a triumph. I am not okay. I won't give any Infinity War spoilers, but I'm defeated and also triumphant. It's confusing.
I've never been better. But it got me thinking. I was like, oh, Chris Evans, what have I seen him in? And then I remembered I saw him in this film, What's Your Number? But probably watched it like on HBO or something years ago. And I remember really, really liking it. So Haley and I, we both seen it and we both liked it quite a lot. And a lot of people don't really know about it or talk about it. So we thought, let's rewatch it. Make sure it's got the same charm. And also honor our Avengers watch through with giving Chris Evans some attention. But primarily the film stars Anna Faris. Haley has nothing to add. I was like, oh, I've been talking for a while. I'll give her a second.
Well, I don't know. I miss Jenny Slate and Chris Evans, and there's a part of me that wants them to work it out.
I didn't realize this was the TMZ podcast.
I don't know. I like them. They're fun, unlikely pairing. She's so down to earth and funny, and he's Captain America. They should be able to work it out.
It's true. I like they're good. They're good people. Remember when I said we didn't have a guest? Well, Jenny, come on in.
Oh, a snail! I tried.
That was great. So we're doing it hot take style. We're going to be watching this film. Hopefully it's as charming as we remember, but if it's not, we're going to choke it out.
We are going to take our Captain America shield and hit it in the stomach if it's bad.
I won't give any Infinity War spoilers either, but if you've seen it, we're going to do what Thanos did.
To all of you.
If this movie doesn't please us, you're all dead. Or half of you.
You can't say that.
Okay, the movie's been out. It was a huge blockbuster. It's fine. This is the Meet Cute. It's a hot take. We'll be back in a minute.
And we're back. We just watched the first 26 minutes.
Yeah.
Of What's Your Number? And I mean, so far, so delightful.
It's pretty much so far what exactly I remember it being, incredibly well paced, very entertaining. Anna Faris is so funny and charming and likable, and this is so far I'm having a great time.
Yeah, so far I'm having a great time. And is Anna Faris in anything right now? Mom.
She's on CBS's Mom.
CBS's Mom. And here's the thing, I don't want to watch that, but it's her and Allison Janney?
Yeah.
I feel like that has to be good, right?
Well, it doesn't have to be. I think it can be probably good for what it is, but it's still like a CBS sitcom. I mean, those are all just pretty bad. Personally.
Yeah, but they're both on it, and Allison Janney has an award now.
But Anna Faris, and I think Allison Janney won an Emmy for it, but Anna Faris has talked about in the past how it's the best job in the world being on that show because
that's true.
It's so you basically do the dress rehearsal and then the actual recording in front of a studio audience. But other than that, once you memorize your lines, you kind of have the week off. But she probably makes a few $100,000 an episode or something, which is
It's like putting
Wild.
on little mini plays, is how she said it.
Well, yeah, exactly. And at the end of like 2.5 Men's run, Charlie Sheen was making like 1.2 million an episode,
Jesus.
which is probably dangerous.
Oh, I would like some of that.
Yeah, well, just,
Do you think we can make 1.2 million an episode of this podcast?
we're about like halfway there now, so I think
okay.
so.
Yeah, a few more subscribes and ratings, and we'll be
yeah,
there.
it'll be fine. But why don't you go into the what's happened so far?
Okay, so what's your number? This is Anna Faris is Allie. She is a city girl in Boston, and she wakes up in bed next to Zachary Quinto.
I really like Zach Quinto. He's always so funny in comedy roles, and he's good in dramatic roles, which are the 2 roles. And I saw him walking around Bond Street once with a yoga mat, and he was on the phone and looked like he was just relaxed and ready to take on the day. And it was nice to see him in this film. Okay,
great. I'm glad you got to see your personal friend, Zachary Quinto.
Yeah.
In this film, your close personal friend. So she just, not a one-night stand. It seems like they've been
seeing
sleeping.
each other,
yeah, they'd been seeing each other. And she's like, hey, so you want to go to my sister's wedding? Boom, boom, boom. And he's like, are we that serious? And she's like, well, it seemed serious when you were doing me from behind last night.
And I know that Haley's putting on a voice and sort of exaggerating, but that is the line.
Yeah.
And it's a funny enough line.
Yeah, Anna Faris is funny. I'm never making fun of Anna Faris's delivery. She's very funny.
Yeah, she can like elevate something that's not particularly funny and just make it like great.
So Strikeout, she gets fired from her job where Joel McHale is her boss.
Yep.
I love me some Joel McHale. But in this film, he is very particularly a finger sniffer. Like that is his quality.
I think that sums it up. Yeah. he's like slimy.
Or like the employees are all watching him and they're like, is he smelling his fingers or is he thinking? And he's always kind of like...
Yeah, he's smelling them fingies.
He's smelling them little fingies. Joel McHale, great guy, I assume. Always plays a douche.
And he's so good at it.
And he's so good at it. And my acting teacher in college went to college with him and says he's very nice, but unfortunately his wife is also very nice.
Ugh, P.U.
P.U.
Edward, what do you say?
Yeah,
you know, Ed.
You know what he really says is like, I'm lost in the middle of the woods.
I hear wolves.
I have not enough wood to start a fire and I'm beginning to freeze.
I hope these leaves are edible. If not, it will be a slow death.
Oh no, I've fallen into a cave and now a rock is caught between my arm and this other rock and now I have to do a 127 hours situation and saw my arm off.
But all I have are my teeth, so I shall gnaw it off. God, I hope all of this is really happening to our friend.
To our good friend.
Anyway, so Anna Faris, it's her sister's wedding is coming up. Her sister's played by Ari Grainer, who is always very good.
So Anna Faris just got fired. She's riding on the T. The T, that means she's in Boston, and that's what they call the subway, is riding the T, and she's reading this Marie Claire issue, and it's like, the average number of people women have slept with is 10.5, which is really funny. Where'd they get that half a person? But anyway, 10.5, and she's like, what? 10.5? And the homeless lady next to her is like, that seems right. And she's like, no, that's low. That's low. And she's like, oh, I guess I'm a big old slutty slut. Cut to her sister's engagement party.
I think it's
her engagement party, yeah. And she's having fun with, like, I guess what'll be the bridesmaids or something.
Well, right before this, Anna Faris starts writing down all the names of people she slept with in her book, being like...
concerned with her number.
She's like, I gotta keep track of all this. I'm all over the map. And she lands at 19. 19
is what she concludes. So she plays a little game with some bridesmaids at the engagement party, like the after engagement party, where she's like, write down your number. I want to see like where I chart on this. And she was the sluttiest one. Yeah, and they start talking about like the article in Marie Claire, and one of them is like, what does she do? She's like something smart. One of the bridesmaids. No, she was just saying that the study was done by a Harvard law professor.
The study was done by someone smart, yes. She was a fucking dumbass.
Yeah. It was done by a Harvard law professor saying that most women, I think it's like if you get to 20 then you're not going to get married.
Yeah.
So like you have to have under 20 partners in order to get married. And there's this whole like psychological backstory, whatever. The whole thing, I mean, it's fine because it's playful and it's like there's this willing suspension of disbelief and stuff, but like some of the scene feels just a little dated and a little like sexist in some ways, even though they are all women.
Yeah, the tone and how funny Anna Faris is even in this scene tricks you almost.
Yeah.
But like it does feel like I'd be curious. We have to look up like, was this written by a man?
Let's find out. It won't take long.
And I know that's not like a deciding factor. Like that's really boiling down like a lot of issues.
Well, I just feel like that's not her number is 19. I feel like that's not particularly high. I mean, I guess I don't know. I don't know. It doesn't feel like, I feel like if they wanted like a shocking number, they should have gone higher. But then
40.
again, then we wouldn't have the plot of the movie, which is making sure to only sleep with 20 guys so she can get married, which then becomes the plot of the movie.
Yeah. Well, she's like, the next person I sleep with is going to be my husband. I'm not sleeping with anybody. And then she gets super drunk and wakes up in bed with
Joel McHale,
McHale.
And he is sniffing those fingers right after he touches those balls. And she's like, nope, not marrying him.
Real nasty.
Chris Evans is her like across the hall neighbor, and most mornings she'll like come out and see like different girls coming out of his apartment. So you know, Chris Evans is a little slutty baby too. So they have their first like actual speaking interaction after Joel McHale is after she has Joel McHale over. Chris Evans comes knocking at the door, comes in, he's like, I left my keys in my apartment. He doesn't sound like that. He sounds like the Chris Evans we know and love. He says, I locked my keys out of my apartment. Oh my gosh, I'm stuck. Can I borrow your phone? And she's like, yeah, sure. And Joel McHale is like, hey babe, you want to get dinner tonight? And she's like, tonight? And he's like, we've got that tenant meeting. So Chris Evans swooping in for the save.
Yeah.
And they have this quick little interaction she's basically like, you're a slut. And then he leaves.
Pretty much. That sums it up.
That's basically it. Which already it's like, okay, he's the slut. You're at 19. What's going on? That's my thought. It's like, aren't you calling yourself a slut and you're calling him a pig? What goes on?
I don't know. Yeah. Well, her whole thing is she's like, I don't know. I feel like before the number thing, she's like, I'm okay with that. I don't care. So I guess maybe it's in her new light. She's like, ooh, you're not going to get married.
Yeah, you little piggy.
And he's
oink,
like that.
Oink.
He's like that Marie Claire article that was about women. Now the person who wrote it is a Harvard professor, and she's like, calm down.
So cake testing.
Yeah, they go to the cake testing, and she's all distraught, and she's eating all that cake, and it looks like really good cake.
It looks like the frosting looks like nice. It looks like a nice vanilla.
It doesn't look like just like a
nice buttercream. Yeah, it looks good. No, get that out of here.
Yeah, fondant's bad. And who walks in?
Oh, baby, Chris Pratt.
AKA Disgusting Donald, which is her ex. And there's a flashback to him, and he's kind of like sweaty and very overweight.
He's very, very fat, and she looks a little chubby too.
Has bad hair, and he's just a mess. And she, we go back to present day, and he's our charming Chris Pratt.
He's looking good. Now, I mean, I did think this flashback was a little like old funny. It felt very like in Friends when they have like flashbacks of Courtney Cox when she was fat.
Yeah.
Like, it's fat Monica. The joke is she's fat.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know.
They elevated it a little though with her not wanting to go out in public with him, which is very sad.
That was her thing.
It's sad more than funny. But him being like, we have no food, let's go out to dinner. And her being like, I can make whatever. And he's like, I want Korean barbecue. She's like, I can make that.
Right.
Like that made it a little bit of more of a joke than just like he's fat, but still like, it was dated.
So she sees that her old ex is like a totally different person. He's dating a scientist. And that's when her sister is like, see, people change. And it gives her the idea Allie is going to revisit all of her old exes and see if any of them are marriage material.
And that's where we've left off.
Yeah, and we've just heard the beginning of that
sounded super different until you got the
uh-oh, I want some more. Uh-oh.
Animal by Neon
What
Trees.
are you waiting for?
No, you can't sing that last note. We're gonna get sued.
What are you waiting for?
Okay, anyway. It's a popular song.
2011.
Animal by Neon Trees. We're going to go see what I'm assuming is going to be a montage set to that song of her trying to track down all those old guys.
You think it's going to be a montage? I feel like that's going to be most of the movie.
No, I think we're getting a montage of her like getting the info, and then the rest of the movie will be her.
Yeah.
And, Chris Evans says that he comes from a family of cops. And I don't remember this for sure because it was years ago when I saw it, but with that line, I'm like, I think she's going to like ask him to help track them down.
Oh.
Because somewhere in that means that he's also a cop.
Yes, that makes sense.
I think that's how they're going to get together. But
he's just good at sleuthing.
Actually, that's what I mean. Like, not a literal cop.
Yeah, and then maybe they'll fall in love while they're tracking down these exes.
It actually is coming back to me now. That's totally what's going to happen. But I don't remember the nitty gritty.
Yeah, but let's find out.
Yeah, let's have fun with it.
Let's have fun.
Okay.
Bye.
And we're back. Welcome back to NPR's
20 times a lady.
So we watched a good portion of it, and it's exactly what we said it would be. Her and Chris Evans team up. She says, if you help me find these guys, you can stay in my apartment every time you have a woman over that you're trying to avoid. And he's like, that's equates doing like hours of like work for
of sleuthing and research and digging. That's and making like one of those like murder boards with like the tape and the ribbon.
That's a good stipend for this unpaid internship that you've given me.
Which apparently he really does think so, because Chris Evans' character like sucks. Like, Chris Evans is doing a good job, and I mostly like. The thing is, when he's in conversation with Anna Faris throughout this whole movie, I find him very charming, and I think their chemistry is like really good. But every once in a while, then they're just like, "Oh, make him say one of those two-dimensional slut guy lines."
Yeah, and he like grabs her, like she hugs him at one point, being like, "I really appreciate your help," and he like grabs her butt and is like, "Why won't you sleep with me?" And
it's always just like, "I love fucking." It's just like really like.
It's like, oh, okay, that's fine. You don't have to do that every time.
Like, not everything you say has to like. Go with your mission statement that you like sleeping with ladies.
But I guess that's his thing. And because we know they end up together, I'm almost like, I don't want him to win.
No, because I do see how it's going to be like really cute. Like, I do think their chemistry is going to be very good.
Yeah, I think they're good together.
But yeah, because they're already like having fun, and I'm already getting those little like ooh like feelings. Yeah. But there's something about his character. Like, he was wearing a t-shirt that said like free licks. I'm like, okay, come on. Not everything about him has to be about him sleeping with girls.
Yeah. So they go through and they start to run down the list. A bunch are married with children. One has passed away. She sees one is a bartender, which is where he was 9 years ago. And she's like, that's not changing. That's who he was 9 years ago.
Yeah. And with all these, Chris Evans is like with her every step of the way. He'll like take her to the location. He like watches from a distance and see what happens.
Exactly.
And she meets like a bunch of old exes.
Yeah. So
any favorites so far?
Well, just because of the casting, Andy Samberg as what was it? Jerry Perry,
I think. Yeah. He was a puppeteer who she actually lost her virginity to, and he's so stupid. He's so funny.
Yeah, Andy Samberg in this era is as good as it gets.
That chin dimple, you could like hide in it. It's so deep.
That floppy hair. And he plays like a perverted puppeteer. Like, there's a funny gag where he like makes one of the puppets who is modeled after Anna Faris' sister. This sounds way darker than it kind of, but makes her perform like a sex act on him in like the park. And it's very funny.
I know. I just like the way you're saying that. Perform a sex act.
No, I don't speak in a crass tone. What am I, Edward?
Edward. He's probably bleeding from that stump on his arm.
He's
got fur in his teeth from all that rabbit he had to eat.
It's starting to rain.
I liked the one with Martin Freeman.
Oh yeah, it was very funny.
In their scenario, I guess she pretended to be British the whole time they dated, so she had to go right back into an accent, and it was so funny.
And they do a great cut back and forth between her like messing up the accent,
like getting drunker throughout the night.
Yeah, and going like Cockney, and then going like what she calls full Borat, which was very funny.
That was so funny.
Anna Faris is a treat and a half. She is so good.
She is. And Chris Evans is a very good buddy throughout this. Like, even though he's got this weird, like, this two-dimensional, like, I like sleeping with women thing, he is, like, a good match for her. They are funny together.
Yeah, they're great. And the last guy we got was another Avenger, a.k.a. Falcon, a.k.a. Anthony Mackie.
Yes.
He's like a highly successful politician in Washington, D.C.
Trying to get a seat in Senate.
Yeah, and then the presidency. And they have a great night out together, and he's like, I think we can go all the way. And she's like, what does that mean? He goes, we're getting married. You're going to be my beard. I'm gay, and America's not ready for a gay president. And she's like, nah.
Back to the drawing board.
Well, I guess I'll go find some more numbers.
Now, there's one guy she really wants to...
Jake Adams. I'm really enjoying this movie, but that is the most cliche
name
rom-com guy name.
Yeah, it is. He was supposed to be her first, and he was like studying abroad or something, and she didn't wait for him and instead slept with Andy Samberg, so he's like the one who got away, I guess.
Yeah.
So she's desperately trying to find him, but he's abroad in like Africa doing good person stuff. So we'll see if we find him. What else? Any other good ones?
Well, there's one very funny reoccurring gag where she keeps running into Chris Pratt's character.
She just keeps running into Chris Pratt.
When she goes to find Martin Freeman, it's because he's selling his home. She thinks that she's going to an open house. Bit of too much of a weird coincidence, but she ends up in his house that he's like,
because he's the next door neighbor of Martin Freeman who's having an open house.
His door is open because he was bringing in groceries. It's a bit too Rube what's it called? Rube Goldberg machine.
I don't know, but they play it really funny.
Yeah, it's well done. And then in DC, he's there, and she's like, yeah, I'm here for my fiance Pierre is back from the North Pole, and he's in DC, and he's like, that's crazy.
Yeah. So he thinks that she's stalking him.
I think we'll get one or two more beats of that. I think
Probably.
just one. I think one more Coda one would be really good.
Yeah.
But I don't know for sure.
Which he's already in the movie way more than I thought he was.
Yeah. I mean,
I'm sorry. I'm just really mad at Chris Pratt.
For what?
For not being with Anna Faris anymore.
It was an amicable split.
I don't care. I'm
like
mad
we said,
at
this is
him.
the TMZ cast.
No, I am furious that they're not together anymore. And I know they're their own people, and I know I wasn't there for the relationship, but I feel like I was, and I loved them.
I was there for the relationship. And some things just work out for the best.
But their son is so cute. He wears those like kid glasses that are like goggles, and they're blue, and they make his eyes look huge. So cute.
Those are adorable.
And they did dumb stuff, like post pictures of them fishing together. I mean, I know he still has the kid.
They do dumb stuff?
I know he still has the kid.
What do you mean they do dumb stuff?
You know, like fish and dirt bikes and like, you know, like American boy stuff.
American boy.
American boy, stay away from me.
Yeah, you see where I'm going with that.
Too much fishing. I don't know.
Set those fish free.
Nice.
Oh, that'd be great. This is the kind of content. Let me just say, I'm gonna say it.
Say it.
This is the type of content that Edward would only improve.
It's a shame he is in a hole in the dirt right now.
It's too bad that we did that thing where he's like running. He's like, I'm finally on my way, and then a vine grabs his ankle and whips him up, and he's like, oh, gee.
Yeah.
And then we have like a pot of honey sort of pour on him, and a bear comes under him and just stands waiting for as he gets slowly lowered. It's too bad we did that, because thinking now, this episode would be great if Edward were here. He brings
really would be
great energy to the podcast, and
so true.
I think we made a mistake. But as Bob Dylan says, keep on keeping on.
Does he say that?
No, I don't know. I don't know who does, but I know it's not Bob Dylan.
Bob Dylan said, "The times they are changing."
Bob Dylan said, How does it feel? That's a little callback to our
Pickup Truck Love.
Pickup Truck Love
The
improvised.
original film.
Yeah. A Meet Cute original film. Meaning our previous episode where we improvised a full rom-com.
Yes. Anything else that stood out or that we liked in this long stretch?
No, I'm besides Chris Evans like kind of crumminess. This is just as good as I remembered, which doesn't happen often when you like remember a film after a few years.
Yeah.
We usually find something you don't like. I'm liking this more.
Especially 2011, because that was like a weird, I don't know, it was kind of a weird time, 2011.
I graduated high school. Go Sailors.
Yeah, it was my first year of college. Go University of the Arts. I quit you.
I quit you.
I really did quit you. I don't know. There's something there.
Yeah, I've been liking it. So what do you say that we settle in,
Yeah.
finish this movie,
Yeah.
come back and rate it?
Okay.
All right.
Let's do it.
All right.
Okay, bye.
All right. We'll be back.
Oh man, that was just delightful.
That was great.
I had a great time just now. So before we get into it, I wanted to say that earlier Chris Evans had a line like right when they were starting to hunt down exes, because he didn't get why she was so hung up on not going over 20 guys, and he was like, well, what kind of guy would care about how many guys or girls slept with? And she's like, a decent one. And that's when I stopped and I was like, that's like the most feminist line in this movie. And then, well, it'll come back later, but I just wanted to point that out. I was like, ooh, good boy.
So it's around this point in the movie that the thing that we had to assume was going to happen starts to happen, where they're hitting it off.
Yes.
They're arguably falling in love in front of our eyes.
They sure are, and the chemistry is palpable, man.
It's great. They're so fun together. It's phenomenal, and they spend they play like strip horse.
Yeah, but why? Because she comes back from feeling sad about the senator. Yeah. The politician guy, and he is in her house, and she's like, oh, I'm not going to sleep with you. What are you doing? And she had created all these little like sculptures, these like freaky little urban sculptures that she makes, and he thinks they're so cool, and she's like, I can't make money off them, it's nothing, blah blah blah. But he had installed lighting on all of them, so she got home and there's this nice surprise that he cares so much about this like thing that she does, and they just like hung out, and he sang 3 Times a Lady by Lionel Richie, but 20 Times a Lady
is the book that this is based off of.
Yes, and also that was the joke he was singing to her, because she's a slut.
It's a good time.
She's not. 20, I feel like that's pretty normal.
They play a game of strip horse, like the basketball game.
In the garden?
At the TD Garden, which is like
Garden in Boston.
Basketball and concert venue and garden. And they run out of there, and then they run to like the marina, and they jump.
Boston Harbor.
Is that where the tea happened?
Yeah.
That's awesome. So it's a historical rom-com.
Yeah.
And they jump in the harbor, and it's a great time. They come back, and finally, they kiss.
They do.
And they're about to have sex, but then she's like, you know what? We need to slow this down. And he's a perfect gentleman. He says, okay, but I want to kiss you more. And it's cute.
You know what? That was hot, too. It was steamy.
I mean, it was, I think because their chemistry was so good that as the viewer, you saw it and you were finally like, just kiss already.
Yeah,
like,
do it. Yeah. You know, the scene where she's like wearing his shirt, which they always do this in movies, but this one is okay because they were playing strip poker in the basketball court, and she left her dress on the hoop. So whatever, he actually lent him her shirt for a reason, not just for like, look, we did it reasons. Yeah. But I don't know. It was good. There's something. They were good. They had me convinced.
Yeah, it all works.
I wouldn't look away.
But then in the morning, she reads a text. Mm-hmm. Haley, I don't remember exactly what it says.
You're making it sound like it was really dramatic.
I was hoping you'd pick up, and I would have to reveal that I don't remember what the text said, even though we just watched it.
We didn't know what it said. She was just late for another bridal appointment with her sister. And her sister hates when she's late. So they're going to meet with all the bridesmaids to pick out like invitations and flowers and stuff. And she's all like, ooh, like feeling dreamy about her night. And they're like, who are you bringing to the wedding? And she's like, I don't know, Colin. That's Chris Evans. They're like, oh, that fucking hot slut. You can't be with a guy like that. And she's like, why? He's a nice guy. He's like, you slept with him, didn't you? And she's like, no, we didn't. And they're like, come on. She's like, we didn't. And he's a nice guy. You don't know. They're like, that's not the kind of guy you end up with. That's the kind of guy you hook up before you meet the guy you end up with. And then she's like, oh, I guess I shouldn't be with him.
And then a text happens.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, no, I was like, I can't be wrong about this.
That's another text. That's so funny. So they're at their apartment chilling later, and she's like working on her little sculpture things. They seem really happy, but she sees a text on Colin's phone that basically says that he had Jake Adams's number that whole time, and he's the one who got away.
Yeah.
So they get into a big old fighty fight.
And then she lays that line on him that one of the bridesmaids says. She's like, you're not the guy I end up with. You're the guy something before I find the guy I end up with.
Yeah, that's exactly how it goes.
Better when she does it, but man, does it sting just as hard.
Oh, yeah. Chris Evans is upset. Which, like, he's a good guy. Don't do that to him.
But she meets up with Jake Adams, and, ooh, is he charming?
Ooh, they hit it off.
Yeah, call 911 because we've got a case of the charm.
Call 911. We got a case of Anna Faris's hair caught on fire in that one scene.
Yeah, that happened.
Saucy.
That again was another example of like the sort of fake comedy and rom-coms.
Yeah.
But she's charming, and it was brief. It
was brief.
It wasn't like it's on fire and you stare at it forever, being like, when's she gonna?
I think
don't care.
In a worse movie, this scene would have been longer.
Yeah,
and it would be like the only funny thing to happen for like 10 minutes.
Yeah, like longer is really the key thing.
Yeah.
Like,
this little scene where her hair extension like caught on fire and she threw it in a nearby fountain would have lasted like 20 minutes.
It was a part of a larger scene, not just the gag.
Yeah, exactly.
Which was good because it's not much of a gag. So they hit it off and they have sex and it's great. But then as she hangs out with him more, he's not so great.
And it's not against him. It's just she's just kind of going through the motions. Like, he's a fine dude. It's like up until the point.
Well, I think there's some subtle things like
he didn't take a mini cheeseburger.
I was just about to say they're at a party. Well, he kind of looks at her like they're passing out little cheeseburgers at this party, and she's like, "Ooh, I'll take a mini cheeseburger. You want one?" And he's kind of like, "No," and kind of seems like he's like a little embarrassed that like she's eating at this party.
Yeah, there are some subtle like late 2010s early 2010s I guess like fat shaming stuff in this movie that like I think would be done differently today, but if that's the most offensive thing, then I'll take it. You know? It's
it feels offensive too because Anna Faris and Chris Evans are in such like incredible shape. Like they're both so fit, so it's like it just feels extra like mean spirited.
Yeah.
Like, who are you to? That's not cool.
Right. There is that one very funny scene actually earlier where they're there is that one funny scene earlier where they're at Andy Samberg's The Puppeteer's place, and Anna Faris accidentally picks up like a kid and is like taking him with her, and it's because she took the wrong kid. She was supposed to be taking Chris Evans's cousin or whatever. But she took the wrong kid, and she was like, why did you come with me? Didn't your mom tell you not to go with strangers? He's like, you looked like my mommy. And then you turn around and the woman looks nothing like Anna Faris. But the joke ends up being that she's like a larger woman, which I think now if that joke were done, they would make her like a pirate woman or something, like something crazy, you know,
like something,
and not just like, oh, she's fat is the joke.
I also would love that if it were a pirate woman. That'd be so funny.
That'd be so awesome.
It was like funny as is, but
it was
if they did something truly like wild. Oh, that'd be great.
But that's the humor I mean, where it's like, yes, it's funny because Anna Faris looks nothing like that middle-aged woman, but
is 8 years too soon for a reboot? Because I think that we could really get some of the nuances in this film.
Yeah, bring it up to date.
Yeah.
So
also Anna Faris and Chris Evans look the same, so they could still play the roles
right?
just again.
Exactly. So we're at the sister's wedding, and Jake Adams is her date.
Yep.
And the mom is like obsessed.
Oh, she lives for a Jake Adams moment.
Yeah, she lives for a Jake Adams moment. She just wants him to like put the little ring around her finger already and join the family.
She doesn't care whose finger the ring goes around. She's like, you can marry me, you can marry my daughter. We're at my other daughter's wedding, but if you want me to have her call it off with that guy and marry you,
fine.
I'm all game.
So they love him, and she kind of has this moment where she realizes, like, I mean, everyone else is happy, but am I really happy with this guy?
I'm so tired, everyone.
I'm gonna cut this.
No, don't cut it. Just know that I'm exhausted. But you know what gets me unexhausted?
What?
Bringing you top quality podcast entertainment.
Oh,
Talking
baby.
about a film from 2011 that no one knows.
That no one talked about. Why? This was good.
I don't know. I mean, I guess if it gets passed over, you don't get never got a chance to shine. I don't know.
I don't know.
Well, let's keep going.
Let's keep going.
We'll talk about it after.
She has this moment after she's dancing with her kind of like weird and kooky dad where she realizes that like this isn't for her. And so Jake Adams is like, we're going to travel the world, baby, and you're going to follow me for 6 months, and you don't need your silly little sculptures, and nothing's holding you back in Boston. And it's kind of like, ooh, that stings. One, that he kind of insults her little like sculpture things, the thing that means a lot to her that Chris Evans liked. He thought it was important.
Yeah, he likes them.
He wanted her to do more with them. So he's like, oh, well, it's a good thing we've only ever like slept with each other, basically. And she's like, oh, no, you weren't my first. There was someone else. And he's like, oh, that's okay. Just me and one other guy. And she's like, try that times 10. He's like, 20 guys? Ew, yucky, gross. That's the thing Edward would say.
I can't even name
yuck.
20 guys.
Yeah.
I've never met 20 people. He's
insane. Like, that's disgusting. What kind of girl would do that?
What is that, the population of Rhode Island? Ugh.
Disgusting.
You start to realize he's like a dumb guy.
But so I think she realizes more that like, well, Colin didn't care that I slept with a lot of guys.
Yeah.
And Colin liked my art.
Yeah.
So she's like, goodbye, Jake Adams. Adios.
And she runs across town in her heels. And this was another moment that it was a little bit long and not that funny, but it wasn't completely unfunny.
Yeah.
It was.
She falls on her face.
Not the falling on the face, the entire journey to.
Oh,
Jake
yeah,
Adams.
yeah. It was well, it was the rom-com gesture.
Exactly.
It was time for the rom-com gesture.
It was fine. And his band is performing at a wedding, and they're playing covers, which he said he would never do. He wants to play his own music, you guys.
Yeah.
But she gets there, and she jumps over a wall, and when she lands, she yells "fuck," and a bunch of kids like mimic it. They just start yelling "fuck, fuck, fuck," which was unrealistic but very funny.
Unrealistic, very funny. I bought it. You're right. I didn't love the whole montage before where they were just like, it was her just like going across all of Boston to every single wedding in the city checking for him.
Except one that she stumbled into, which was Chris Pratt's wedding.
Oh yeah, we got the button.
Well, I was like, all right, we have to have one more, and that was a perfect way to do it.
She busts in and
you
they're
have
about to get
assume
married.
it was like "speak now, forever hold your peace" moment.
Yeah.
Which I wish they had cut to them saying that and then shown her busted, because it would have just elevated the joke a little more. But
it was still really funny.
It also feels like a missed opportunity. Maybe they filmed it and cut it, but like,
who knows?
It feels like a missed opportunity not to take that part of it. Either way, perfect use of that.
Yes, very good end to Chris Pratt. Series wrap on Chris Pratt.
Yeah, it was a series wrap on Chris Pratt.
Series wrap on Chris Pratt and Anna Faris' relationship.
That sigh was pouring one out for their actual relationship.
I'm really upset about it.
But my voice cracked.
It's fine. We'll keep going.
Yeah. We're almost done.
She jumps over a wall. He's singing on stage, and instead of just waiting for the number to be over, she gets a tambourine and hops on stage and is pretending to sing back.
What was her end game? Because he wasn't going to end the song. So like her doing that or waiting till the end, she would have had the same amount of time in between that moment and her finally speaking with him, and all she did was jeopardize his like professionalism and make herself
I know,
dumb.
but for the comedy, I was fine with it.
The answer is it's a movie, but
she was just like faux singing into the mic, like, I need to talk with you.
Yeah. it was funny.
It was funny. And then she was like, sorry guys, we gotta stop toasts, and took him off stage and was like, hey man, I love you.
Pretty much. And she was like, I love you too. She goes, I love you, 21. And he says, I love you too, 300. And then
and she stops him.
Very funny.
Pretty funny.
And then our last little tag of the movie, they're in bed together. She gets a voicemail from Aziz Ansari playing someone. And he's like, yeah, we never slept together.
We did a bunch of other stuff, and you fell asleep in my shower, but we never slept together.
I don't know how you think we slept together. That's
I just wanted a bite of that donut.
That's both of our lower than mediocre Aziz Ansari impressions.
Yeah, the like cadence is right.
Yeah, the spirit is right.
The spirit is right.
And she starts jumping up and down because she's like, "You're number 20" to Chris Evans.
We did it.
And that's a very sweet ending. And that's the 2011 film. What's Your Number?
Yeah, I really liked this.
It's so good, so entertaining. It's a leap above I like to categorize a lot of films that are just like pure entertainment as like Sunday afternoon films.
Yeah.
And I think this was a leap above. I got way more out of it than just like a normal Sunday afternoon film.
I enjoyed myself. So should we do our rating first, or can I reveal the Rotten Tomatoes?
I think
I have a feeling our score is going to be higher than this.
Yeah, let's do our score first.
Okay.
So chemistry.
Man, oh man. I mean, I don't have anything bad to say about their chemistry.
I've never done this before on this podcast. I'm giving it a 5.
Me too. I
perfect.
am. And we did 13 going on 30 last week, and I thought Mark Ruffalo and Jennifer Garner's chemistry was like close to perfect, but this was perfect. There was no lulls. They were like friends and like goofy, and
it was exactly what you want in a rom-com couple. Like it was they were both like, Chris Evans kind of sucked by the end. He was likable, but together they were a likable force, and that's what mattered.
Exactly.
So that was killer.
And he was only unlikable because of like not unlikable even. He was only a little much in the beginning because it was such like two-dimensional writing of a guy who sleeps with girls. But he's such a good actor, and they have such good chemistry. He could have said anything, and I think it would have been good.
Yeah. Now the best friend, I have an interesting sort of take on this.
Sure.
Do you yield the floor to me?
Yes, go.
Okay.
Please.
So, in a normal the best friend in this movie would be her sister.
Right.
In a normal rom-com, Anna Faris's sort of character traits would be the best friend,
exactly.
And the sisters would be the lead, sort of this like buttoned up, like get yourself together woman.
Right.
So it was reversed. So I don't think we can really rate it on a normal scale because it wasn't a normal rom-com best friend situation.
So can we just alter this category?
I guess. What would we alter it to?
Well, I like to do sometimes when it's not the chemistry of the leads and it's not like the typical best friend, just like supporting cast.
I'm going to say supporting cast. And in that supporting cast, I'm going to loop in all the exes.
Exactly.
Who, holy shit.
You're going to do 5?
I'm going to have to give it a 5. They were perfect.
Yeah, they were all very funny. They all did their role perfectly.
They complimented her perfectly. They filled the space. No one was a lull.
Yeah.
Even Zach Quinto was like good in his one scene. You know what I mean? Like,
he was funny.
Even something about him, like you believed that character and who he was. It's a 5.
Damn it. I mean, you're right, because what other comic relief would you need? All of the exes were so funny. Chris Pratt was so funny.
It was perfect.
I'm joining you. Supporting cast, all the exes, get a 5 for me.
God, the hand-holding club over here. All right, so here's where we're going to get a little bit of a lull, at least for me personally. The next category is romance.
Agreed.
It left a lot to be desired.
Yeah.
It was a comedy more ahead of a romance.
Yeah.
And that's fine. That's great. It was a great movie. But, you know, the gestures at the end, it wasn't so much a gesture as much as just her being honest and him being like, yeah. And the stakes for them breaking up felt very low.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right, because it was just like the morning after too, basically.
Yeah.
It was like the day after.
I mean, if he lied about like Jake Adams being in town, he did it because he likes her.
Yeah.
So like I don't see how that's a huge, and they're already together, so she at that point, so wouldn't she think like, oh, you liked me all along, that's why you did it, I like you now, we'll just like each other. It wasn't a huge betrayal, I don't feel.
Yeah, and I think she did it broke up with him more because of the pressure of her friends.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think that was just like a good excuse, you know.
And the basketball stuff, you know, it was cute.
It was chemistry. It was riddled with chemistry, not necessarily romance.
It felt forced in terms of like a plot, like what are we going to have them do to find each other?
Yeah.
Because the idea of basketball came out of nowhere for me.
Yeah.
Whereas like it could have been something that's related. They could have done like some kind of art project together or taken some kind of class, you know?
Yeah.
It just felt arbitrary to be basketball. So I'm actually going to give it a 2. And that sounds harsher than it is, but I'm just looking at it objectively. How was the romance? Sure. it wasn't really there for me.
It was just steamy with chemistry, but not necessarily romantic.
Yeah.
Like I liked what they were putting down, but the scenes themselves weren't that romantic. They were all just like very flirty and fun.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to go as low as a 2. I think I'm going to go 3 because I felt the romance off of them. So maybe if some of those, like, you're right, like the art kind of scenes or like him, I don't know. There were some moments that were romantic, some lines, but not scenes.
Right.
So I'll give it a 3, right down the middle.
And comedy, I don't know what to say. I have to give it a 5. This was so funny.
It was so funny.
Here's the thing. Okay, here's the thing. Last week, 13 Going on 30 got a 5.
Yeah.
So funny. It's so well done.
Yeah.
This was funnier. So how do I not give it a 5? And I don't think that there's like, I don't think it deters from 13 Going on 30. I think you hit a certain level where it's everything you want in a comedy. It's sincerely funny, not fake funny.
Right.
And it hits it out of the park. And I promise that next week we have to watch a bad movie.
We have to.
Because we watched 2 killers in a row. These were great.
Yeah. You know what? I wasn't going to say 5. I don't remember what I gave.
Speak your truth.
I don't remember what I gave the comedy score for 13 Going on 30.
I might have it.
Check that for me.
I don't know. 2 of us gave it 5s and the other 2 gave it 4.5. So I don't know which one.
Wow, that's so close. See, my only thing is I would maybe give this one a 4.5, but that's not even true because, like, what else would have been funnier?
I laughed.
That's the thing.
So hard.
Like, yes, it could have been more of a comedy, but then I think that would take away from the rest of the movie. So I think this was just the right amount of funny it was supposed to be.
It was great.
Right, because I think any funnier, it would be more like Bridesmaids, which is not a rom-com. That's just a comedy.
And there was no, because again, like the even the scene where she gets set on fire, it was not long enough to deter from anything. I don't think there was any attempted joke where I said, "Oh, boo."
Yeah.
There were a few that I didn't laugh out loud, but I still found humorous. But,
Yeah.
But in so many rom-coms, when there's a joke, you're just like, "Oh, why don't you go fuck yourself?"
You know what? I'm going to do 4.5, and I'm only taking that half point off for the characterization of Colin in the very beginning of the movie, where the women writing this movie clearly were like, oh, people will love this douchey characterization of a two-dimensional guy who likes women a lot.
Yeah.
So some of those jokes were a little stale and just like, we get
You know
it.
what?
He likes sleeping with ladies.
I don't want to reduce my score, but you know what? I think that it's an important enough thing to realize and to say that you could have pushed a little further to bring that comedy to light. So I'm actually going to join you in a 4.5.
Still very good.
It was very funny, but thank you for bringing that to light. That
Yeah.
I think that just in the general sphere of writing rom-com characters,
yeah.
that needs to be improved.
He didn't become three-dimensional until like halfway through the movie, and I think he could have been because he was such a good actor. So
No, that's a good point. Thank you for pointing it out.
You're very welcome.
I guess my eyes were bigger than my stomach.
Yeah.
But that being said, solid 4.5. Super
Yeah.
funny.
Let's total this up. This shouldn't take long.
Give me 1 second. We have added up the scores.
We sure did.
This film gets... Oh, what are we rating it out of?
Ooh, Freaky Little Sculptures? No.
Women in Chris Evans' apartment.
Sure.
We are rating this out of women in Chris Evans' apartment. Meaning referring to the women he sleeps with throughout the film.
Which could be upwards of 300.
Yes. And this film gets 17 out of 20 women in Chris Evans' apartment.
Wow.
Or 8.5 out of 10 women in Chris Evans' apartment.
Ooh, that
or
half a woman.
85% of a woman in Chris Evans' apartment. You guys, this was a great movie.
It sure was. Now, which did better, this or 13 Going on 30?
Let me find out. I think it was like, 13 Going on 30 did a smidge better.
Wow.
But I could be wrong. It was just a week ago, so I could be wrong. But I think it did a smidge better. But really, same ballpark. Everything you want in a rom-com. Funny, sweet, entertaining, escapism.
Now let's get a little controversial.
Mm-hmm.
Let's do it. So I'm looking at Rotten Tomatoes, and baby boy, this movie got a 24% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Well, critics hate rom-coms.
Yeah,
but the
they
audience
do.
score...
The audience score is 44%, which isn't as good as I thought it would be.
Where the audience? Audience, what are you doing? It's a great movie.
Come on. Was nobody rating this movie? Like, that's what I'm wondering. Were there so few critics?
Just goes to show you that not every you can't trust Rotten Tomatoes. Not every film that gets bad reviews is completely bad. Some are, so I guess use them as a reference point. But sometimes go with your gut and try something out. And I recommend trying What's Your Number, even though we just spoiled the entire movie for you.
Yeah.
It's still very fun.
It's so fun. I mean, we can't spoil all the humor for you. We can't spoil that chemistry, that sweet, sweet chem.
We can't spoil the hour and 57 minutes of good afternoon fun you'll get out of this movie.
Yeah, and okay, so it's no, like, deep, moving, crazy movie. Like, it's, I don't know. Like,
you're not going to watch it and say, did I just watch Citizen Kane?
Right. You're not going to feel changed after. But, like, I just feel good.
It's great.
Like, I feel good. I was real tired, and now I feel good.
Good movie. We've just got one more segment for you.
Oh, yes.
As we've discussed several times throughout the episode, Edward is not here this week. He is in the Catskills. We did not drop him off there.
He is straight up doing one of those Revenant kind of things.
He brought himself there.
He brought himself there.
Is that what happens in the Revenant?
Yeah, and he just, like, eats fish with his bare hands.
Can we do a quick scene from the Revenant real quick?
Oh, yeah. I'm a bear.
And I'm Leo.
I'm gonna fucking kill you.
Oh, no, Mr. Bear, I wouldn't like that. I've got a small dagger. What's your car?
Oh, I'm dead now.
And I'll go home. And that's what we assume the Revenant is about.
That's exactly what Edward's doing while he's there.
Yeah. But while he's there, we figured we still want him to have a voice. We know him very well. Mm-hmm. He's an important part of this podcast.
Yeah.
So this is a segment called, Would Edward Have Liked That?
Would Edward have liked that?
Now, would Edward have liked the movie What's Your Number?
Now, Edward is consistently confusing to me in what he likes, because
that's because he's always dangling that medallion in front of your head.
I'm like, whoa, what is he doing?
He's like, it's 1845 and you're on a farm.
He's always hypnotizing me. No, I'm confused because, like, I didn't really like You've Got Mail.
Right.
Edward came in, he's like, that was just delightful, la 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 la. Movies I found fun, he didn't find fun.
Right. But you also have a lot of common ground.
I mean, yes, he's one of my best friends. That'd be crazy if we didn't.
Yeah.
But, you know what? I don't know. If he didn't like this movie, I might give him a little smack across the face and say, what's wrong with you?
That's how much we liked it, everyone. She's willing to hit a good friend. I think Edward would not have liked this movie as much as us. Mm-hmm. I can't tell you exactly why. But I think he would have liked it a lot.
You know what it is? Edward likes realism.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes realism just, like, doesn't need to have a place at the table.
I don't know how much I agree with it, though, because Edward also digs Star Wars and whatnot.
No. In rom-coms. For some reason, he is down with the realism in rom-coms. Like, there'll be, like, a really, like, messy scene that, like, just doesn't feel good. And he'll be like, I like that part. Like, in the romantic ratings. He'll be like, yeah, but there was a really good, like, breakup part. I was like, that's not romantic. That's, I don't know.
So you think this would be too sort of off the grid for him?
Maybe not off the grid, but just, like, too much escapism, maybe?
Huh, interesting. Like, too light? Almost.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I think he likes a little dash of realism in his rom-coms.
Yeah, I think that the low stakes of their breakup Edward might not love. He might not connect with that.
Yeah. And also, I think he doesn't like that Chris Evans was once standoffish to him, so he might have some ill feelings towards this.
But that's fair. That's fair. We all have reasons.
He's very famous, which is why him and Jenny Slate couldn't be together, because he was Captain America and she just wanted to go to dinner.
But the question on our lips is a definitive yes or no. Would Edward have liked that?
Well, what do you think?
We'll say at the same time on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Yeah?
Whoa. I think that perfectly sums it up. We hope that you like this episode. Don't worry, Edward will be back next week, and we promise to watch, like, a bad movie.
We need to get a real stinker, guys.
In fact, if you've got a real stinker for us, reach out to us on Twitter and Instagram at @meetcutecast, or if you're a little private boy, reach out to us at themeetcutecast@gmail.com. We want to hear what's the worst rom-com you've ever seen and why should we do it? And if you reach out to us, we'll give you a little shout out if we choose that movie.
Unless you're a private little boy
if you're
and don't
private,
want us to tell you.
If you're a private little boy, we will literally say, oh, we just heard of this film.
Ooh, a little birdie.
Yeah,
Ooh.
we passed the note on the street. Nobody emailed us. Wink.
Ooh, not a private little boy.
Yeah. We're going to have merch that just says private little boy, and you're going to have to explain that to so many people. For all of us here at The Meet Cute, I'm Zach.
I'm Haley.
And it's me, Edward. Oh, but you thought we said that he wasn't here.
And I'm the bear that killed him. Bye, guys.
Bye.